Pain is no longer something we have to tolerate. We have an answer.
How can something legally prescribed be killing so many people?
Tell me what words you associate with oxycodone.
Oxy what?
Oxycoffins.
Excuse me? Don't put that in the notes.
We are under investigation.
This must be like a Black Mirror episode or something.
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show where we just want to watch the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood, but also, keep in mind that what we really want is to murder all chords, and someday it may happening. It may happening. And when that they do,
and when script
and
chat GPT,
you tricked me into doing the bit. All right. Bryce, what did we just see? That looks fictional, but I assume it's a documentary.
Well, no, that was maybe we didn't see Matthew Broderick in that trailer. That's a Painkiller coming to Netflix on August 10th. That's Matthew Broderick, Uzo Aduba from Orange Is the New Black, and Taylor Kitsch star in it. It is a composite fictionalization of the opioid OxyContin entering the medical market and the crisis around all of that. It's very similar, apparently, to Dope Sick, a Hulu miniseries. Though apparently there are a few differences in them, but they're both dramatized fictionalizations. I think it's not like Chernobyl where there's a lot of
trying to
people.
Yeah, be close to the truth.
Well, you did too many people, Tom. You can't have a million people be. I don't know. That's coming to Netflix.
Yeah. You know what they call it when you finally kick your addiction to OxyContin, right?
Hooray!
You're OxyClean.
Oh my God, Tom.
Primary target?
Tom, no, Tom. We're gonna take a moment. We're all gonna silently
think about what you just did. Yeah,
right now. Fair. Okay, now. Okay, and we're
primary
good.
Target.
And we're good. And we're good.
Barbie and Oppenheimer are two different people. But not the same.
Breaking news. This is our #1 news story. Ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry.
Also two different movies. There's the Barbie movie, there's the Oppenheimer movie, and they're both scheduled for release on July 21st. The public has decided that rather than crown one of them the temporary winner, they will instead see both as a double feature, hence Barbenheimer. A lot of you have probably heard about Barbenheimer. AMC Theaters reported that as of July 10th, so that was a week ago, more than 20,000 AMC Stubs members had already purchased tickets to see Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day. Not a thing AMC was doing on purpose. It was creating their own double feature. The Verge notes that loads of other blockbusters are going to follow Barbenheimer. That includes the Haunted Mansion, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem on August 2nd, Blue Beetle on August 18th, and more. Now, if ticket sales for Barbenheimer do tip the scales a little bit for two movies that are probably not expected to be huge blockbusters on their own, although Barbie, I think, is close, and where people were worried would cannibalize each other, do we think that we will start getting the think pieces that this is the way to save Hollywood, do more memes? It's worth thinking about whether this is a one-time thing or whether it might restart the habit of going to the theater.
I strongly suspect that this is not a top-down meme. This is not something that somebody at Hollywood concocted. Instead, I think that folks like you and me deeply want movies to come back. They don't even have to be great movies. They just have to be good movies. And we appear to have two, by reputation, pretty good movies coming out on the exact same day. So it's like this, to me, feels like a ground up, grassroots sort of, yes, wouldn't it be great if there were always 2 movies that were good every single weekend being released. Let's all make a game of celebrating them. Barbie is commended for being smart and funny and kind of meta. Oppenheimer is commended for being another David Nolan movie. To be honest, David, sorry,
One
Chris
of those
Nolan.
Nolans.
Yeah, sorry, no. To be honest, I'm here for this, and I hope this is a success. But if it is a success, I fear that it's just going to end up being like, let's make that on purpose from now on.
Yes, exactly. I'm right there with you. This was funny when people noticed they were on the same day to say, hey, here are 2 wildly different movies, but they both sound like they might be worth seeing. Let's make them a double feature. How hilarious is that? Barbenheimer sounds funny. And then a lot of people decided, you know what? I've got 6 hours to kill on a Friday or Saturday or Sunday. I'll do it. Just for the lulz. I will go and book a double feature. I have very close friends of ours who've absolutely booked their tickets to do this. It's going to be an event. It's going to be fun. People are going to be talking to each other. Oh, are you doing the Barbenheimer thing? I saw you in the Barbie line earlier. Totally get that. I don't think you make this happen again. First of all, like you said, you didn't make it happen. It just kind of naturally happened. And if you try to make it happen, then people are going to turn against it. It's going to have the opposite effect.
Agreed. So, but in this case, we have, again, 2 very different movies. Here's what
They're 2 different studios too. That's the other thing. Don't forget, like studios don't put their own films out on the same day.
Here's what I fear is that there's a backlash because every single person I know who has bought both tickets, there's a big debate about like which order do you watch them in and all that stuff. But even then, it doesn't sound like anybody I know is intending to sit down and watch both of them back to back. And that I feel like will affect, food sales, popcorn sales.
What do you mean they're not going to watch them back to back?
They're buying the meme, not the actual experience.
So that you think they're just going to watch one or the other of the movies, not the other, not both.
They have flatly told me we're either going to watch one or the other movie.
Yeah.
We're not going to watch both.
We bought 2 tickets.
We just think it's funny
because it's funny.
Yes.
We're definitely not sitting through 2 movies.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense to me. It doesn't make sense that people would spend money just to buy the meme. I'm sure to a lot of people, but I get it. It's like for the lulz, you can take the photo of both tickets to prove you did the Barbenheimer double feature. Maybe you really want to support both these movies, so buying your ticket is your expression of support, but you don't got that kind of time. And
or you
sit
just
through
want to
both.
support summer movies in general.
Maybe.
I mean, we love the summer movie series, and we want it to come back.
Although, frankly, the theaters aren't going to like this because the longer you hang out, the more likely you are to spend money on food and all that, and that's where they make the majority of their money. The studios aren't going to care. If the studios think they can get you to buy extra tickets on a joke, they will do it. They will make it happen. Is there a way? Can you brainstorm a way, Brian, where a studio, maybe they would have to cooperate with a second studio, not do 2 of their own movies, that could seed this and make it happen again?
You know what? Actually, I don't know why you do this to me, Tom. All of a sudden, my marketing brain just kicked in, and it's like the big debate now is after buying the tickets, people are debating which movie to see in which order. So if they sold them as a block,
wouldn't you have bought the tickets at a specific showtime?
Yes, but then you would doubt whether or not you did it in the right order. So if you sold them in a block and you're like, hey man, this is when the first one is, this is when the second one is, do you want to do the double feature? I mean, to be honest, double features are and were a thing. It would be, let's just make it fun to go to the movies again. That's all I'm thinking.
Yeah, Tom, stop making it torturous to go to the films.
Also, real quick, Bryce, which is the right order? Is it Barbie first and then Oppenheimer, or the reverse?
I would probably say Barbie, then Oppenheimer, because then you kind of get Barbie out of the way. It's shorter, and then you can kind of really settle in after a good break. You'll be really refreshed if you take a good intermission between. So I'd say do that, because Oppenheimer's going to be 7 hours long. They're going to make you build
it's 3 hours long
until you leave.
Yeah, which makes me feel like that's part of why I'm convinced it's a grassroots bottom-up exercise, because nobody would plan this on purpose from the top down. Like, let's have a very heavy 3-hour experience and also a Barbie movie.
I think you could see them both at the same time.
Sorry?
Oppenheimer's 3 hours long. If you could nest the time, then you leave Oppenheimer during... You'd have to know a lot about these movies, but you could leave Oppenheimer during the most disturbing parts and like refresh yourself with Barbie.
I mean, you can.
You're not really seeing both at the same time. I get that.
This truly would have to be a grassroots bottom-up experience, because I cannot imagine that the director, who is notoriously fastidious, would be okay with planning on various moments that you would leave Oppenheimer to go watch Barbie. But I'm here for it. Sell me more.
Well, this is just something you'd have to do on your own. This is not going to be a marketing thing. This is just a way for you to support both films and not feel like you had to spend 5 hours, and you get to sample both.
I actually think this is such a good idea that if not us, somebody else, pretty please, should construct a similar to what was the hatchet cut, the machete order on
the machete order, yeah,
something like that with the prequels, where it's like,
but
here's your recipe.
Still, my original question is there a way for another studio to do this with 2 future movies? All of our examples have been ways to promote the current Barbenheimer focus.
I do not believe there's any way that you could make this kind of experience from a top-down perspective. I feel like this is all a reflexive response of basically humans saying, I really remember when movies were great at the movie theater. I want to see 2 in a day.
Yeah. I think that the only way to be sure that this wonderful moment in meme history is not sullied by future marketing is to hire me and Brian to lobby the studios when they've got nothing else going on. All their employees are on strike. If you back us enough on Patreon, we will walk over to #1 Studio Way and convince them never to try this.
Tom, the only way that could happen is if, as of last week, everybody gave us a raise. And I am here to tell you with a big old grin on my face that we now make $1.37 per episode of Cordkillers. Keep us loud, live, and independent. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. Get your own RSS feed. Get early access to the Spoilerin time. Get exclusive access to After Talk. Thank you to everybody who continues to bother to log in and give us a 1 penny raise every time I ask for one.
I'm always shocked how many people do it.
It's great.
It's kind of amazing.
It's the best.
An amazing amount of people do this.
We thank every single one of you. Each one of you makes a difference in aggregate. Mm-hmm. You deserve an award. Let's talk about awards and how to watch. Now listen, I think the odds of there actually being an Emmy Awards ceremony on September 18th due to the strikes are very low. It does not look good. But just in case they work everything out by September, the nominees have still been announced. HBO's Succession racked up the most nominations with 27. Last of Us followed with 24, and The White Lotus with 23. Highest number of nominations for a show not from HBO went to Ted Lasso with 22. After that, you get Marvelous Miss Maisel from Amazon with 14. 13 each for Netflix's Beef and Netflix's Dahmer. FX's The Bear also got 13, and 12 went to Netflix's Wednesday. Brian, even though our votes won't count because we work for ourselves and for our bosses, the patrons, you want to vote?
Yeah, I do, but also I want you to unpack that statement. Is the Emmys something that you have to be part of a super secret club? I know the Oscars, you have to be part of a secret club to vote for. Is that the way it is with the Emmys as well?
I mean, it's not a secret club. You have to be part of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences or whatever it's called. Yeah.
What I mean is a club that we are not members of. Unless you are.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. No, I'll vote. Give all of my votes to everything HBO. HBO has pioneered prestige television. Like, Succession is so
we
good.
already have a big problem for you in the Outstanding Drama series.
What? What do you mean?
Because there are 4 HBO shows.
Can I spread my one vote over all of them?
And Andor is also nominated for Outstanding Drama Series.
I'm sorry. There must have been a miscommunication. I'm sorry. All of my votes go to Andor. Everything Andor forever and ever and ever. That's the only series that matters forever.
Outstanding drama is Andor, Better Call Saul, The Crown, House of the Dragon, Last of Us, Succession, White Lotus, and Yellow Jackets. You
didn't mention that Better Call Saul was in there. Now it's a little bit more confusing.
Because I figured you'd just go right for the Andor bait. But would you vote Better Call Saul over Andor?
No. Andor is truly the greatest, the greatest Star Wars anything ever. What about you?
I'm trying to decide. I think it would be Succession.
Really? Really?
But I may be voting on previous seasons there rather than the most recent season when I say that. And I was trying, because I was looking at the White Lotus too, and like, was this season 1 or season 2 of the White Lotus? Because season 1, I might go there, but I don't know if I would with season 2.
Yeah, that's also something that we see where it's like because there's not going to be any more Succession. It's like last chance if you want to chip in a vote for Succession, that kind of thing.
But if not Succession, Better Call Saul or Andor. Yeah, those are in the runnings. I think I will do that. I will take that tactic of like, let's crown the king. Succession last season. Here you go. I'm curious if Bryce would have
just to allocate my votes. Whatever votes I have first go to Andor for being such a pioneer in that franchise. Then the remainder go to The Last of Us for doing the one thing that nobody ever thought could be done, make a good video game TV show. And then everything else goes to maybe not Succession, sure.
Bryce, what about you?
It's Better Call Saul. For the same reason you would give it to Succession, you would doubly give it to Better Call Saul.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
It went longer and yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Succession's great. But it ain't Better Call Saul. And if we're doing a ceremonial one, then we got to give it to.
And it went longer too. Yeah,
I do love the fact that that's the trick is when you hear somebody say something that ends in a question mark, then you have to reevaluate this. That Succession's great. It's great.
Outstanding comedy series: Abbott Elementary, Barry, The Bear.
Oh wow.
Hilarious show. Jury Duty on Amazon Freevee, Marvelous Ms. Maisel, Only Murders in the Building, Ted Lasso, or Wednesday.
Wow, what a weird list.
I do owe Only Murders in the Building a watch, and so I can't really say anything about that, but the rest of those don't much sound like comedy series to me.
Jury Duty's a comedy because it's the one with the guy who doesn't know he's the only one who's not in on the joke. He thinks it's an actual jury, and it's not. It's all staged.
Yeah.
Abbott Elementary, that's a single camera comedy.
Barry, it's stretching it with Barry. Like that I wouldn't call that a comedy, but I can sort of see like, well, it's a ridiculous premise and there's comedic situations. But The Bear, The Bear is the best show in this list, but it's not a comedy.
Yeah, I agree.
I bet it's too short to be a comedy.
Imagine taking a loved one and saying, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe how funny The Bear is. Sit down, buckle in."
Yeah.
And then watching it.
At which point I'm looking at Wednesday, I'm looking at Ted Lasso, I'm looking at Only Murders in the Building. for comedy. And to say I just haven't seen a lot of Abbott Elementary or Jury Duty. Probably Wednesday. I'd give it to Wednesday.
For comedy series.
It's funny.
It's got funny.
If I were placing a bet, I would say that Barry will win it undeservedly.
Who do you want to win?
Ted Lasso. Even if it fell off the rails, it's a very clever, very funny show.
How about you, Bryce?
Oh, I'm gonna give it to the Bear. If the Bear's an option, I'm gonna put it there.
All right. You're like, look, it's not my job to judge the category.
That's where they put it.
Also, why is the Righteous Gemstones not on this list?
You can write it in. You want to do a write-in
on the planet? Okay.
Maybe was there not a season last year? It could just be an eligibility.
Oh, is it an eligibility thing? I don't know. Yeah. All right. We don't have to spend too much more time on this. Let's just do lead actor and lead actress. Lead actor in a drama series: Jeff Bridges from The Old Man, Brian Cox in Succession, Kieran Culkin in Succession, Bob Odenkirk in Better Call Saul, Pedro Pascal in The Last of Us, and Jeremy Strong in Succession.
Man, I'd hate to be on a podcast where I had to pick between these. What do you think, Bryce?
I'll go. I'll volunteer as tribute.
Go, Tom.
I give it hands down. Bob Odenkirk, Better Call Saul. These are all amazing portrayals, wonderful actors. But Odenkirk knocks it out of the park with a character that is a spin-off character. So it shouldn't be as deep and compelling as he made it.
So Kieran Culkin, I think, is the best of the bunch. However, everybody else is owed something. Jeff Bridges is definitely owed something after all these years. He was excellent in The Old Man. Brian Cox is owed something after all these years. He was excellent in Succession. Bob Odenkirk is owed a bazillion somethings, and he's Pedro Pascal has not only he was.
They're all good. All of these are deserving. You're right.
Pick a favorite child.
Kieran Culkin.
Oh,
that's a good call. I almost went Kieran Culkin myself. Bryce, what about you?
And by the way, that Kieran Culkin is my protest vote because like everybody else deserves one, and I don't know what they haven't gotten before, but I will vouch for the fact that Kieran Culkin is next level excellent in Succession.
He is pretty amazing.
I gotta give it to Bob Odenkirk. Just you can't, but especially in this season, this last season of Better Call Saul, where he is playing a very different character. For some of the time, and then this last season of it is such a consolidating moment for that character and for Bob's portrayal of him.
And if you want to say he's owed, it's right there in the name.
He's Odenkirk.
All right, lead actress in a drama series: Sharon Horgan for Bad Sisters, Melanie Linsky for Yellow Jackets, Elizabeth Moss for The Handmaid's Tale, Bella Ramsey for The Last of Us, Kerry Russell in The Diplomat, or Sarah Snook in Succession.
I'm going to recuse myself because
pick one.
Bella Ramsey. It's always great for the same reason as Kieran Culkin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom, what about you?
I'm going to recuse myself.
What? No, pick one. You son of a gun. Come on, pick one.
Now I know what it's like to be you watching me.
I can't pick. I guess I'm going to have to pick. Actually, Melanie Linsky is really good in Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
And I've seen Yellow Jackets. I've not seen the current season, but I saw the previous season, which is one that they're up for this. I'll go Melanie Linsky. Okay. She's incrable.
Bryce?
Big for Kerry Russell. The Diplomat is really solid. I haven't seen I have seen the Last of Us in Succession, but I don't think Bella Ramsey was great. She was playing a very young character, and it was kind of a tough thing. But Kerry Russell owns that role. She owns that series. I think she's great. She is Sarah Snook's great, but I think Succession is so ensemble. It's tough for anyone to be a lead.
I will justify my pick only by saying, much like a diving competition, you give a multiplier for difficulty, and Bella Ramsey, what a very difficult set of multipliers to do a pioneering type of that show, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
It's suddenly just now strikes me as weird that her name is Ramsey.
Oh, Yeah, no, that I noticed.
Game of Thrones. Yeah. Okay. Lead actor in a comedy series. The people up are Bill Hader for Barry, Jason Segel for Shrinking, Martin Short for Only Murders in the Building, Jason Sudeikis for Ted Lasso, and Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. Lead actress in a comedy series, Christina Applegate for Dead to Me, Rachel Brosnahan for The Marvelous Ms. Maisel, Quinta Brunson for Abbott Elementary, Natasha Lyonne for Poker Face, and Jenna Ortega for Wednesday.
Hey, everybody, write us at cordkillers@gmail.com if you want to have a fight with me about Barry. I still haven't watched the last episodes that that Tom told me to watch. But
hey, the emails are coming in. We may have one by the end of the show. Stay tuned.
From Tom.
All right, let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
It's all about location.
Under Surveillance. A trailer for Wonka starring Timothy Chalamet is out. It hits theaters December 15th. The movie, not the trailer. The trailer you can watch right now. It includes a lot, including Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa.
I did not get the chance to see this. What did you think, Tom?
It's a prequel. Here's the origin story of Wonka. It looks like it was made by the people who made Harry Potter, because it is in part made by the people who made Harry Potter, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's got a little of that magic feel to it. It is much more leaning into the supernatural aspects of the Wonka story, where I feel like the previous adaptations sort of walked the line of this could be possible. It seems like there's a lot more magic going on, and it's an anti-corporate story. The big chocolate makers want to keep Wonka down, but he's going to show him and figure out how to make his way on his own, which that could be tedious, or it could be like a great underdog story. I can't tell from the trailer.
It looks bad. Oh, it looks bad. It looks so bad, Tom. It looks so bad. Oh my God. Like the chocolatiers, and they try to have these other chocolate CEOs as like this big cabal that he's trying. And I'm gonna be old indie Mars Willy Wonka. That's right, kids. It's Mars. Look it up. Check the rapper. It looks so bad. It looks like the most polished turd. Timothy Chalamet should not be in this role.
Oh, it's a shining one though. It's polished to a beautiful shine. I do feel like if you just want to see a turd, this would be the best way to look at it.
Yeah. And are there peanuts inside? Where I'll
if you want to enjoy the cinematography.
Right. I was trying really hard to steer clear of that. Right.
There's also a trailer for the Disney Plus series Star Wars Ahsoka, which is a live action continuation of Star Wars Rebels, by the looks of it. Ahsoka premieres on August 23rd. I know you have not seen Clone Wars, which is the origin of Ahsoka herself, or Rebels, which is the origin of everyone else, all the other characters in this. But I think it could be a fun story, even if you haven't seen those. I don't know if it's going to be your kind of story, Brian.
Specifically, and you know that my fears are it'll be too many wink, wink, nod, nods to people who have been there from the beginning. And I've been there for those kind of stories, but I don't have the energy to get caught up on all of that stuff. Absent me doing all of the homework, is there much there for me? Question mark.
I can't tell yet. My guess is no. I think two things will be true. I think you'll be able to make sense of it without having had to see Rebels and Clone Wars. It looks like it's going to try to tie more directly into Mandalorian than those, but it's going to have lots of clever nods. There are plenty of clever nods already in the trailer. I can't imagine those are all the clever nods that you're just going to look at and go like, I don't know what they're winking at right now. So I think you'd be able to make sense of the plot. I just don't know that it's going to be the kind of plot that you like, the kind of story that you like.
Yeah.
I can't tell for sure until August 23rd, so I'll let you know. Those of you who don't know, there are two strains of Godzilla movies coming out these days. There's the big budget Godzillas coming out of Universal, and there's the Toho Godzillas, the original studio that created the Godzilla movies back in the day. Toho announced a new Godzilla movie coming to Japan November 4th and the US December 1st, called Godzilla -1. This is the first Toho Godzilla movie since Shin Godzilla, which came out in 2016.
So, sorry, is there a clear reference to the -1, or?
I think it's a prequel.
Like
less than 0.
Yeah. Okay.
But not the novel.
Okay. Yeah, all I want to do is write comedy bits about Godzilla showing up to a dinner.
An already devastated post-war Japan faces a new threat in the form of Godzilla, an enormous mutated kaiju.
Oh, so maybe it's an origin story. The very
it looks like we're talking like here's how Godzilla arose.
That would be my bet. My question to the panel is, part of the reason that Godzilla was such a mega monster is because it was the right time. It came at this cultural gestalt after, being attacked with nuclear bombs in Japan. Can that magic ever be recaptured again?
I don't think that magic can be recaptured, but I think there are some universal elements of the Godzilla story that Toho is uniquely positioned to take advantage of. And they make these for the Japanese audience with an eye towards Godzilla fans. So I don't expect this to be a breakout hit in mainstream US, but I think among the folks who it's targeted for, it'll, has a great shot of being amazing.
Yes.
In other Everything Old is New Again news, the latest Miyazaki movie is out. It's called The Boy and the Heron, arrived in Japanese theaters July 14th with no publicity other than a poster. They said they wanted to recapture that old-fashioned feeling of not knowing anything about a movie when you went to see it. And apparently people are pleased because, you know what? It's a Miyazaki movie, and those are never bad, and this is not breaking that streak. Set a new 3-day record for IMAX screen revenue in Japan.
I'd be really curious to find out a bit about how he got to do that, because even Steven Spielberg, like if there was a surprise Steven Spielberg movie, you would probably see a think piece about how Steven Spielberg was able to convince Sony to let him release a movie with very little promotion. I don't know. I'd be curious to know more.
When I say there's no publicity other than a poster, I didn't scour the internet to see if there are any think pieces like that. There probably are. But they didn't do trailers. They didn't do public appearances. They didn't do, any interviews or anything like that.
But even then, like taking at face value, that's remarkable and highly unusual in this environment.
And I think you could only do it with Miyazaki. I think you do that when the criticism I have read about The Boy and the Heron is that it is not new, that it is very much the same old Miyazaki. And if you like that, you're going to love it. But if you're looking for growth or a new direction or something, you're not going to find it. And maybe they realized that and said, well, we're not going to go out there and do a bunch of publicity telling people to come see Miyazaki. They know who he is. He's that big in Japan. We don't need explanation. And there's nothing else to tell. If you like Miyazaki movies, you're going to like this. Go watch it. So it kind of makes sense when you think of it.
To hear you tell it, it sounds an awful lot like my experience with Asteroid City from Wes Anderson. It's like I went in expecting nothing other than a Wes Anderson movie. And it was pure distilled Wes Anderson.
And that's what you got. Yeah. Comcast added its streaming news service NBC News Now to the channel guide on its Xfinity X1 cable platform. So when you're scrolling through the channel guide on your X1 box, you will see NBC News Now right there next to Fox News, CNN, all the rest of them. But NBC News Now is not a cable channel. It's a streaming channel. You can get it for free with a Roku app or an Apple TV app. In fact, Comcast added 20 other fast channels to the channel guide on the X1 platform.
This feels to me, and pure speculation on Brian's part here, but it's like this seems both inevitable and the right way to implement it. It's like fast channels are replicating whatever the experience of cable channels are, only they're available on more platforms besides cable. And this one just these are on cable. Seems like we're going to see more of this, the fast slide, as I'm going to coin it.
I've always assumed Comcast and Spectrum and all the rest of them are attempting to turn their cable boxes into rent a TV streaming box. They've all added we've covered that, added Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and all of that. And this feels like a way to get you to just not notice that channel guide is full of channels you could get on your own. You don't really need cable for it. It's all coming over the internet. And at some point they can just turn off the coax because all your stuff's coming over the internet. And it kind of feels like people who pay for AOL now, right? In the future, people who pay for cable will be like people who pay for AOL. They just have always paid it and they feel comfortable getting it through that service.
We'll know we're 100% right when people casually sell them, like when somebody calls 1-800-COMCAST, they're like, I want the cable. And it's like, yes, it comes with a Roku box. Oh, it's Roku? Well, it's not technically a Roku. It's a Comcast Roku. Like once it becomes a common noun, that's when we'll know that the cord killing is won.
And finally, the Taylor Sheridan Western drama Yellowstone originated on the Paramount Network, but it streams on Peacock right now. It's going to air on CBS this fall as one of its new fall shows, taking a major Sunday evening slot. Even though CBS and Paramount Plus built Yellowstone's universe of series, Peacock has the streaming rights to the original drama. But I think it's an MTV arm of Paramount that produces it, so they've still got the ability to show it on broadcast.
I have a vested interest in this position, but I'm 100% okay with this. Like, if television just became essentially a DJ or a VJ, a way to curate excellent content that exists other places, like, I wouldn't be sad if all of a sudden every Sunday night I was seeing Squid Games on broadcast television or what have you. I'm totally okay with this.
I've been wanting to do this as a project for Cordkillers for some time, and I'm wondering if the time is coming soon, or if this is actually the worst time. But I wanted to sit down and only watch shows for a week that are on main broadcast channels. Oh. So CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox. I'd just be like, this is my TV watching for the week. I'm only watching as if it were 1984. This is what I would have to choose from.
Artistically, I think this is an excellent idea, but I would not, I would prefer not to.
I would not make you. I would do this. I would do this alone and only for a week, just to see what it was like, and then document my experience.
You would not do it alone. I would.
Oh, you're the best, Brian. But I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't expect you to. I would only expect myself to do it.
No, it's too good of an idea. As a matter of fact, like if we want to go all the way in, I would love to spend 1 week watching nothing. Advertisements and all, but like teleporting back to 1978 or something.
No, exactly. I want to do that. Save that too, right? Like, can we get just recordings of everything from that? Yeah, that would be amazing too. I don't know if we can even do that. That's a technical challenge. But the idea of watching the broadcast networks, the only holdup for that is we're in the middle of a strike. So is it a fair test to watch it this fall when it's going to be all reality shows and reruns of Yellowstone?
I mean, if what we want to do is reconfirm our priors on this, then this would be a good time to do it.
Yeah, There's that
tune
argument.
In exactly when all the talent is not working.
Goucham says, never figured Tom for a masochist. All right, let's see what we've had our eyes on. Brian, what you been watching?
So I successfully got my kids watching Arrested Development, and it's been fascinating because on the one hand, they genuinely seem to be enjoying it, give or take. There's some stuff that hasn't aged to what a 15 or a 19-year-old would be interested in, but they've gotten a real kick out of recognizing where all the memes come from. They're like, that's that meme, that's that other meme, that's
like the banana
meme.
Stand and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but by episode 6 of the first season, I was asking, what do you want to watch? And Penny, with a pitying glance, said, Dad, I know this is a good show, but by now we've heard all of these jokes so many times, and it made me remember the experience of me and Bonnie watching The Godfather, because we knew The Godfather was a well-respected, beloved movie from 20 years before when we rented it from a Blockbuster. But what we were not prepared for is for everything to look like a terrible cliche, because it was such a well-respected movie. And to see my kids doing the same thing with Arrested Development, of all things, has been an extraordinary experience. We'll see whether or not they want to watch any more of it. Who knows?
That's interesting. That is very interesting. We finally got in a place mentally to watch The Bear because we loved season 1. We'd heard nothing but good things about season 2, but it's a mentally exhausting show. So we really we had some personal stuff going on over the last several months that had our tolerance level a little lower than usual, but we finally got there this week. Watched the first episode. The first episode is not that bad. It's actually less stressful than most of the season 1 episodes, and I know it's going to ramp up and become more stressful later. But 1 episode into The Bear, all I can say is thumbs up from me. I reconfirm what you all probably already know. It's a great show.
It is truly, truly excellent. And as we talked about in the After Talk segments, the only reason I tapped out during season 1 is because they were themes that were struck a little bit too close to home for me. Yeah.
Right. No, totally. Very, very similar reasons. All right. What should we be on the lookout for, Bryce?
Hey, we got, I got something. I ended up watching this last week or over the weekend. It's Nimona on Netflix. This is a CGI kind of adventure comedy. It's family friendly, but it's not exactly a kid's film. This is about a young shape-shifting girl and a knight in this kind of mix of a fantasy, magic, sci-fi realm. It's a heartwarming story. You've got someone who's been wrongly accused and is trying to clear his name. You've got Nimona, who is this sort of mysterious, cartoonish character, but who's also a shapeshifter. It's really great. I mean, I don't think I have a bad thing to say about this. The whole family can watch it. Anybody will enjoy it because it's not necessarily dulled or made especially simple for children. So I think it's great. This was a movie that was kind of in the news because it was lost in the shuffle of the Disney-Fox merger, and then got picked up by Annapurna. So now it's streaming on Netflix. Have you guys heard of Nimona? It was making waves
I've seen some buzz around it, but I didn't know much about it. So this was nice to hear.
I had already decided to watch it based on your text. Text thread. But I can't control what my children see or experience or what their friends say. And so of my 3 children, one of them has already kind of saddled into the belief / beef of well, the original was like this, and therefore I can't like this or whatever. So, but I'm trying to navigate getting everybody to watch it because I 100% believe you, Bryce, that it will be something that will delight me and Bonnie and the entire family. But I think one of my children has been corrupted by prior knowledge.
Well, and the studio that had been working on this didn't exactly have a great pedigree before this movie, so I think it's understandable that there's like skepticism of it. I say, having seen it, it's very, very good. It's Nimona, Nimona. That is streaming on Netflix. If you've got something we should be on the lookout for, please email it to us. That email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. Thank you.
We had someone actually got a doghouse system.
Wait, don't say wrote it because our friends over at Doghouse Systems are probably listening to this right now. And they're probably thinking, yes, Tom, that was the entire idea of us loaning you multiple systems.
I've been sitting here this whole time thinking you made this company up. That's not true. Actually, I have a Doghouse system.
They're made up. They're made up.
The actually was about writing back to us and telling us like, hey, I did it. I got one. And it was great.
Not only that, but they experienced exactly what I loved about my experience with Doghouse Systems, and I assume you as well. Don writes in saying, I did use the code ROGUE to get Doghouse Systems, received a call back from John. By the way, that's the CEO of the company. That's how good the customer service is. He had nothing but good things to say about both Brian and Tom. Anyways, while I work in a system administration business, the last thing I want to do is create a system from scratch with my time working from home. So I went to the website and configured a kick-ass system. Describes the system. It's great. He says, thanks for the heads up. He says he enjoys the show. Keep on killing chords, or whatever the new vernacular should be. I think it's a reckoning. But he heard about the name change, and he supports everything that we're doing. Thank you so very much for keeping us loud, live, and independent.
Thank you, Dawn. Also, in Loud, Live, and Independent are the Android faithful. Ron Richards and Wen Tui Dao are the hosts of an old show that was all about Android, and now a new show called Android Faithful that is theirs, right in cooperation with the Daily Tech News Show. Folks had the first episode last week, so you can get that in your ears right now. Episode 2 coming on Tuesday evening. So keep an eye out for that. If you like Android news, you like supporting independent podcasters, go check it out, androidfaithful.com.
Tom,
let's move on. Oh, yes.
Before we move on, would you say that it would be fair to fair and legal to consider this a spiritual successor to All About Android?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, there's talk of bringing some old familiar faces on the Android Faithful. So I want to keep your eyes peeled.
All right, hold on. Deep dop, boop, 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 beep, bop,
boop. Yeah, that's how you do it. You deep dop, boop it into your phone.
I just bought a Doghouse System.
Okay, well, you can subscribe to Android Faithful later. That's fine. Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines!
Netflix published a paper detailing an improved way to do green screen compositing, at least in its opinion. They say it's better able to deal with transparent objects and fine details like hair, uses an actively lit green background with actors lit by a magenta screen. Netflix also updated its profile transfer features that let you take your profile from a shared account to a new account. So now you can take a profile from one shared account to another shared account. Before, you took your profile into an account you created, but if you were sharing with a dorm mate or so, let's say you moved out of your parents' house and you're moving into an apartment in college, if they already had an account, your roommate, well, you couldn't take your profile. Well, now you can. Now you can take your profile to another shared account. Meanwhile, data from Bloomberg's Second Measure indicates that Netflix's new subscriber count rose 236% between May 21st and June 18th. It's another measurement that indicates the password sharing crackdown is not reducing the number of subscribers. In fact, it may be helping.
Bryce, did you have thoughts on this?
I took a look at the research paper for that Netflix green screen.
Oh, for the green screen thing.
Magenta light thing. It's interesting. I think it's really interesting academic research, but you have to be on an LED stage to do this, which means you wouldn't presumably need to back to green screen at all. So it needs a lot of space. It's also not perfect. See, the way that the image comes out is not perfect because you lose the green channel for it. So they have to run it through an AI to recolor it. So not only do you lose the green color, it also has to make up what the green color is. And you have to train it in real light on set at the time that you're shooting so that it knows what it needs to actually. So it's neat.
What do you think their motivation was for putting this out? Are they trying to encourage more cost-effective attempts at pitches?
It could be. There's also talk in the paper about using some of the information from this research into generally using machine learning for green screening and for coming up with matting, the process of green screening. So it could be that this is a step to creating usable data to say, just give any piece of video footage or any normal green screen footage and give it to a machine language model and say, give me this, but do it right. Get all the transparency right, get the hair right, and fix it all in one. I think that's probably the most realistic example of this.
I do think it's a sharp move for them to take your viewership data and essentially make it kind of like an email address or there should not be an expectation if you have 3 roommates that all 4 of you have to have Netflix, and instead you could, one of us is going to pay for Netflix and so on.
Yeah, no, I agree that is a change to that is consumer friendly.
Meanwhile, the Roku channel is now available on Google TV, the version of Android TV provided by Google on its own devices. Yep, the Roku is free. Ad-supported shows are available on Google hardware, and Charter is going to launch 2 versions of its basic cable plans this fall. Spectrum TV Select Plus will include sports, and Spectrum Select Signature will not have sports, but be at a reduced price.
Oh, wow. Cable finally selling you a non-sports plan for cheap.
Okay, can I admit my favorite new sports thing is all of the dog agility sports that I'm seeing. There's increasingly, really? Yeah. At least, whenever I go out to eat, there's one television in the corner that has a bunch of Australian Shepherds and Collies and whatever. They're either running fast or doing agility stuff. There probably is a channel for it, but I would like it in my life.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Back in 2022, Bob Iger returned to Disney as CEO, but said he would only stay for 2 years. However, it's an Iger's prerogative to change his mind. So he just signed a contract extending his time as CEO of Disney until December 31st, 2026. That would be 4 years, or 2 2-year terms, if you want to look at it that way. Iger also said linear TV may not be core to the company, and essentially has said, who would like to buy ABC, FX, or Freeform? We kind of have them up for sale. He called union demands unrealistic, but as ill-timed and unnecessary for him to say, it wasn't terribly surprising to me. Iger said ESPN will go direct to consumer in the next couple of years, did not give a timeline on that. He did say the company is looking for a strategic partner for some of ESPN's operations. A lot of people jumped to the conclusion that this meant he's finally going to sell ESPN. It doesn't sound like he wants to sell ESPN, but rather farm out the declining side of the business like traditional cable. So there might be you could license ESPN content and buy the cable channel at some point, which is kind of fascinating.
Question, if you were to speculate wildly, which is my favorite game to play, how much of that is Bob Iger wanting to be in the captain's chair, and how much of it is the board, the team, the shareholders wanting him to be in the captain's chair?
Oh, I think it's both of those, and I think it's both Iger and the board saying, do we have the person to take over? Oh, we don't? Let's just keep Bob. Do you mind sticking around for another couple of years? And Bob saying, yeah, I don't feel comfortable putting anybody in my place yet either.
Yeah, that tracks for me. And following up on the Barbie map controversy, we talked about last episode, the Philippines will allow the movie to be shown there, but the map may need to be blurred, according to some reports. Warner Brothers denies that the dashed line down the childish map refers to the South China Sea, but rather, quote, the route of the make-believe journey of Barbie from Barbie Land to the real world.
Well, apparently that route goes through the South China Sea. So there you go. There's 9 dashes in a line. This
feels to me like the kind of thing where it's like, just say a thing. We literally don't care what you say. Just say a thing so that this can not be a thing and we can release your movie.
Yeah. Telly. Remember Telly? We talked about it. It's the TV that's free as long as you let it show you ads. Has begun shipping its 50-inch 4K TVs. TVs include a 9-inch high secondary screen. That's the one that shows you information like weather, but also ads. In return for the free TV, a reminder, you must agree to use it as your primary television, keep it connected to the internet, not block any of the ads on your internet, and let it collect data on you, among several other requirements. If you violate the terms and you get caught, you have to return the TV or get charged up to $1,000. Ships with a Google TV dongle, since it has no streaming apps on it.
Yeah, all of this all reeks of QCat to me. like
it's a very big, expensive QCat. Is that what you're calling it for Telly? Yeah.
anytime you skip straight from story to sales, and behave as though you were paying attention, but we don't really care if you're paying attention, that seems to be problematic.
All right, let's get to the dispatches from the front. That email you mentioned has arrived. Tim says, Brian, I'm going to be very curious to hear your opinion of this season of Barry if you do end up watching it. I thought the season started okay. The middle episodes were terrible, but I do think it wraps up okay with the last 2 episodes. Not as good as it once was, but it at least lands the plane feeling like a similar show to the one I'd watched before last season's doldrums.
I guess I'm going to have to actually follow your suggestion, Tom, and just...
I thought more than the last 2 were good, but since Tim has put it this way, what if we give you a dispensation to only watch the last 2 episodes?
Ooh, that I can do.
All right,
because I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with all the characters and the situations.
Well brokered, Tim. Now we're going to send you over to SAG-AFTRA and WGA. Good luck. We also got an email from David in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I heard your question on what show to watch or rewatch. I propose Sliders, which can be found on Peacock, according to Just Watch, specifically Season 1, Episode 3, in preparation of Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. Why? Basically, there are people such as celebrity John Cusack who say we never should have used atomic weapons on Japan to win World War II, and in this episode of Sliders, we didn't, because in this alternate universe, the Manhattan Project was a failure instead of our world's success. Maybe it doesn't hold up, but I thought it was worth a revisit.
That's an interesting idea of, we loves us some revisits of old properties, but I don't think we had talked about the idea of just a single episode of a show that we vaguely remember. So that might be fun with Sliders. Sliders, I loved it deeply when I was watching it, week after week when I was at college, but it did fall off the rails at some point.
Yeah. I never finished Sliders. I watched the first 3 seasons when they were being broadcast, and I think I watched a lot of the 4th later, but I never went back and finished the whole run.
Well, and specifically what I liked about Sliders was that it was like a science fiction anthology that didn't feel beholden to a core mission. Like their core mission was to get to their own reality home. And as a result, along the way, you saw a bunch of like bonkers upside down universes left and right. And then they tried, somebody somewhere said, I don't know, seems like you guys should have a core thread for this show.
I think it would be fun to put Sliders after Miami Vice. I think that's a good candidate for the follow up to Miami Vice, because I wouldn't want to watch just this episode, but I would want to do selected episodes. And I think we could come up with I think the audience could come up with a curated list. Yeah, of their favorites. And this would be one of them. So thank you, David. That's a great idea. Keep those great ideas coming, folks. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. Our website is cordkillers.com. And we're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We will talk to you later. Bye.
Hey, Tom Merritt, what's going on?
I'm just hanging out here watching this scroll go by. What are you doing?
Trying to set up a bit where we thank our beautiful, beautiful patrons, all these wonderful names.
I'm sorry, I'm too distracted looking at these beautiful, beautiful patron names going by. Look at that one. I mean, if you wanted to be one of these people, patreon.com/cordkillers would be the place to go.
I mean, they're scratching our itch, like, because we're addicted.
As long as it's consensual, like,
we're addicted to their money.
And love. Might as well face it.
Well, God damn it.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.